They say that if you don't know where you're going, you end up anywhere. And it's true. Your biggest enemy isn't failure or criticism. It's losing sight of your path, your goal, your purpose in life. When you stop looking at the destination, you get lost, you betray yourself, you forget who you are. And the most tragic part? You don't even notice until it's already too late. In this video, you're going to discover 12 Stoic lessons that will help you get back on track. Lessons that will finally teach you to say no, to resist the temptations that distract you, and to keep your eyes locked on your true purpose. Because dreaming isn't enough. You need discipline. Talent isn't enough. You need direction. And that, my friend, is something you train. Let's be honest. You do 1,000 things every day and still feel far from what really matters. Don't worry. That ends today. Subscribe and become an exclusive member to refocus on what's essential. And tell me in the comments, in what part of your life did you lose your way? Let's begin. Lesson number 1. Your vision has to be clear. Do you really know what you want out of life? Not what you're supposed to want. Not what your family expects. Not what you see on social media. You. Do you have it clear? Or are you just improvising as you go? Because Marcus Aurelius had it clear. If he didn't decide what kind of man he wanted to be, the empire would decide for him. Same goes for you. Only your empire is your job, your problems, and the rush of daily life. Most people spend their whole lives doing. They do 1,000 things, run from one place to another, pile on tasks, get stressed, work up a sweat. But if you ask them what their vision is, they go blank. Sure, they have goals. They want to make more money, be okay, be happy. But that's not a vision. That's a generic wish that anyone could have. A clear vision is something else. It's a vivid image of the life you want to build, and of the kind of person you want to be while building it. Without that, you're sailing with no map. Epictetus said it in a brutal way. If you don't know which port you're heading to, no wind will be favorable. You can work hard, make sacrifices, push yourself to the limit. But if there's no clear destination, you're just going in circles. And the worst part? You don't even notice. Because being busy gives you the illusion that you're making progress. You feel productive, useful, active. But the question nobody wants to ask is, towards what? Maybe you know someone who changes jobs every year. Or maybe it's you, starting new projects every 3 months, getting excited, burning out, giving up, then starting over with something else every time with the same initial energy, the same hope that this time it'll be different. But it never is. You know why? Because they've never taken the time to sit down and define what they really want. They chase opportunities, impulses, whatever sounds good in the moment. But they're not chasing a vision. Think of your vision like setting up your GPS. You can go fast, drive like a pro, but if you don't enter the destination, you're just going in circles. And every time you say yes to something that's not aligned with what you truly want, it's like recalculating the route over and over. In the end, you arrive exhausted. Nowhere. Clarity isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Because your mind wears down terribly when it's chasing vague goals. Anxiety doesn't come from having too much work. It comes from not knowing why you're working. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't wake up thinking about what they had to do that day. They woke up asking, what kind of person do I want to be today? That was their compass. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an entire empire, under more pressure than you can imagine, would sit down at night and review his day. And he'd ask himself, did I act like the person I want to be? Not whether he solved problems, not whether he completed tasks, whether he was consistent with his vision. When was the last time you asked yourself that question? When was the last time you looked at your calendar, your week, your life, and asked yourself if all of it brings you closer to the person you want to become? Because here's the truth. Not having a clear vision is also a decision. It's the decision to live on autopilot, to let circumstances, other people's opinions, and daily urgencies decide for you. And trust me, they will. Seneca was ruthless about this. He saw people constantly busy, running around, feeling important because they didn't stop for a second. And he told them, you're wasting your life chasing meaningless things. because they hadn't decided what was essential and what wasn't. And when you don't decide that, everything seems equally important, or worse, equally meaningless. A clear vision is not just "I want a result." It's not "I want more money, a bigger house, a defined body." Those are surface-level goals. Vision is, "I want to live this way. I want to build a life where each day has meaning, where my decisions align with my values, where when I look in the mirror, I don't need to make excuses." That is vision. And that's what gives you the clarity to filter, to say yes to some things and no to others, without feeling guilty. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow and someone tells you, you can't do anything today except one thing. Just one. Is your vision clear enough to know what you'd choose? Or would you freeze, trying to decide between 1,000 options because none of them really feels essential? That paralysis is the proof that there's no clarity, and without clarity, every decision feels like torture. Now think about your past week. If I looked at your schedule, my friend, would I say you have a vision, or that you're just putting out fires? Because it's one thing to respond to life's urgencies. They're real. But it's another thing entirely to live for nothing but that. When you have no vision, everything becomes urgent. Everything demands your attention, and you end up exhausted, empty, wondering why you feel so lost after working so hard. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that should be engraved in all our minds. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and this ties directly to your vision. Which thoughts support your vision, and which ones cloud it? If every morning you wake up thinking about what you have to do to survive, to meet expectations, to avoid disappointing others, your vision is being held hostage. But if you wake up thinking about how you can move just 1 inch closer to the life you want to build, everything changes. I'm not telling you to write a novel about your vision, just one sentence. That's it. I want to build a life where, and then finish it with your words. Not pretty words. Not what sounds inspiring, your truth. It can be simple, it can be raw, but it has to be yours. And once you have it, use it as a filter. When someone offers you something new, before saying yes on autopilot, ask yourself, does this fit the life I want to build, or is it just filling a gap? And at night, before you fall asleep, ask yourself the same thing Marcus Aurelius asked. Did I move 1 inch closer to my vision today, or did I spend the day dealing with other people's problems? This isn't about being selfish. It's about being honest. Because if you don't rule your life with a clear vision, someone else will. And they won't have your best interests in mind. You don't need to know every detail of the path. That's impossible. And it's a trap many people use to avoid starting. But you do need an honest image of the destination. Without that, you'll always be a passenger in someone else's life. Your vision isn't something you guess, it's something you define. And once it's even a little clearer, then comes the next step, making sure the path you're walking is truly yours, and not just a disguise for your fears. Lesson number 2, before moving forward, confirm your path. Imagine you've spent years preparing for an exam, a career, a business. Years. You've sacrificed time, relationships, sleep. You've given up 1,000 things because that goal seemed important. And one day, you realize you never truly wanted it. That it just made you feel safe, or looked good in front of others. That it was the path you were supposed to take, not the path you chose. Epictetus would have lost his mind seeing how we chain ourselves to goals we never question. He was relentless about this. Examine your impressions before giving them power. Because often we accept ideas, goals, dreams without ever challenging them. We let them into our heads and suddenly they become ours. But they're not. They're borrowed. They're copied. They're inherited. And we never even asked for them. The difference between a path you chose and a path that was chosen for you is huge. And most people are too afraid to look at that difference. Because it's scary. Because if you admit you've been on the wrong path for years, you have to admit you've wasted time. That you fooled yourself, that you've been living on autopilot. And yes, that hurts. But you know what hurts even more? Staying on that path for 20 more years just because you've already spent 5. Let me give you one of the best pieces of advice you'll ever hear about your goals. Before you sprint toward them, ask yourself if they're not just a disguised escape, an escape from feeling alone, from disappointing others, from facing what you really want. Because a lot of the time we chase goals not because they take us somewhere, but because they distract us from something we don't want to face. And that's not ambition, that's escapism in a fancy suit. Think of the wrong train. You get on a train without checking where it's going, because everyone else is getting on, because it seems like the one you're supposed to take. And the train starts moving. You settle in. You get used to the noise, the rhythm, the people around you. You pass stations, landscapes, cities, and the farther the train goes, the harder it is to get off. Not because you can't, but because you're afraid to admit you've been heading in the wrong direction for years. That all those stations you passed were for nothing, that you'll have to go back and start again. Confirming your path means looking at the sign before the train picks up speed. It means stopping for a second, even if everyone around you is yelling at you to hurry, and asking, is this what I want? Or is this what's expected of me? Because other people's expectations are dangerously sneaky. They show up disguised as advice, concern, love, and they convince you that their path is yours. But it's not. Epictetus had a very clear way of filtering this. He would ask, does this depend on me? Or am I chasing something I'll never really be able to control? Because if your goal depends on other people's approval, on status, on external validation, you're building your life on sand. Today they cheer, tomorrow they forget. Today you matter, tomorrow you don't. And you're left empty because everything you were chasing was outside of you. Let me tell you a story. Someone I know followed what was expected of them and moved to another country, built a perfect life on the outside. Stable job, nice home, security. Everything checked out, everything looked right. But inside they started to feel a deep emptiness, like they were living someone else's life. And one day, during a casual conversation, someone asked, if no one had an opinion, would you still be living like this? And that question hit them hard, because the answer was no. And they had built years on top of that no. That's what happens when you don't confirm your path. You can work like a hero, be disciplined, consistent, admirable. But if you're on the wrong path, all of that doesn't make you free. It makes you a slave to a goal you never truly wanted. And the worst part is, we often tell ourselves a really pretty story to justify it. We convince ourselves it's the right thing, the mature thing, the sensible choice. But deep down, we know it's a lie. Seneca saw this all the time. He saw rich people, powerful people, incredibly busy people, and inside, empty. People who had succeeded in a race they never wanted to run. And he said something that should be plastered on every wall. You might be winning a game you were never meant to play, because success on the wrong path is still failure. It's worse than failure, it's betrayal. Confirming your path means examining the intention behind your goal. Not just what you want to achieve, but why you want it. And that question is uncomfortable, because a lot of the time your why has more to do with fear than desire. Fear of letting people down, fear of being left behind, fear of being judged. And fear is a terrible architect for a life. Think about something you're fighting for right now. A promotion, a body, a relationship, a project. If all your effort paid off and you got what you're chasing, would you feel happy living inside that result 10 years from now? Or would the thought make you anxious? Because if the answer makes you uncomfortable, you've got a problem. And the problem isn't the goal. It's that you never stop to confirm it. Ask yourself this Stoic question, my friend. If you had to repeat today, every day, for the next 10 years, following the same steps you're taking right now, would it lead you to a life you actually want, or just one that feels acceptable? That question is a scalpel. It cuts through all the noise, all the excuses, and leaves only the truth. And here's another sign. If every time you talk about your goal, you feel the need to explain it, justify it, decorate it, maybe you don't even believe it yourself. A good sign is when you think about that path, and deep down, you feel a mix of respect and relief. Respect because you know it'll be hard. relief because you know it's yours. But if all you feel is obligation, be careful. Write down 3 reasons why you want the thing you say you want. And next to each one, write how many of those reasons are about other people. What they'll think, what they'll say, what they expect. If most of your reasons are in that column, your path isn't yours. It's a borrowed path. And borrowed paths lead to borrowed lives. Talk about your vision with someone who doesn't idolize you or fear you. Someone who will tell you the truth. Not to decide for you, but to hold up a mirror. Sometimes someone else can see contradictions you're avoiding. They see the holes in your story. And that's not cruel, it's necessary. Because it's better to face it now than 10 years from now when you can't get that time back. Marcus Aurelius reviewed every day to ask himself whether what he was doing was worthy of the man he wanted to be. You don't rule an empire, but you do rule your life. Are you approving your own decisions, or just surviving them? Because surviving isn't enough. You didn't come here to survive. You came to build something worthy of your energy. Here's the truth no one tells you. You can work like a hero on the wrong path, and that doesn't make you disciplined. It makes you a slave. Confirming your path isn't a waste of time. It's how you stop wasting years. It's the filter that turns any dream into a destination worth your energy. And once you know what you want, and you're sure the path is truly yours, the next challenge appears. Staying on it without letting distractions, pressure, or excuses steal your focus. That's where many people fall. Lesson number 3. Distraction is your greatest enemy. You might not say it out loud, but you know it. Your problem isn't lack of talent, it's lack of silence. Seneca would have put it the same way. Because the issue isn't that you don't know what to do, it's that you can't hold your attention long enough to actually do it. And that's not entirely your fault. We live in a world built to hijack your mind every 3 seconds. Have you noticed how you no longer need a major failure to lose your focus? One notification is enough. One comment, one dumb comparison on social media. And the worst part? You don't even notice. Marcus Aurelius said the mind gets polluted little by little, and you have no idea how much noise your head is carrying every single day. You're collecting stimuli, interruptions, random thoughts, until your mind feels like a party where everyone's talking at once and no one's listening. Distraction isn't checking your phone. That's just a symptom. Distraction is losing your life chasing cheap stimuli. It's living fragmented. Your mind can be busy all day and still make 0 progress. You can feel tired, drained, like you've worked hard. But if you look back, there are no results, just noise, just motion without direction. The Stoics were obsessed with maintaining an inner state of stability, from which they could decide, not just react. Because they knew if your mind jumps from one stimulus to the next, you're not deciding anything. The algorithm decides, your feed decides, whatever catches your attention in the moment decides, and you think you chose, but you didn't choose anything. Distraction is a silent hijacking. It tricks you into thinking you're being active when you're really just reacting. Picture Seneca sitting in a modern cafe, watching people check their phones every 20 seconds. You can almost see that ironic smile of his as he says something like, "There's no way you can sustain a single worthy thought like that." You don't need to live in Rome to get it. Distraction isn't a modern problem. It's an eternal enemy. The only difference now is that it has more tools. Think of your attention like a climbing rope. If you're climbing a mountain and the rope breaks every 3 meters, you're never going to make it up. Your mind is that rope, and the more you cut it with distractions, the more dangerous the climb becomes. Because every time you get distracted, you don't just lose that moment, you lose momentum, you lose rhythm. And getting it back is so much harder. There's a researcher who studies what he calls deep work. I won't put him on a pedestal, but he said something brilliant. These days, we're not competing on talent. We're competing on who can hold their attention the longest without breaking. And he's right. Because we all have ideas, we all have potential. But very few can hold focus long enough to turn that potential into something real. You try to read, and suddenly your mind jumps to something else. That's your brain asking for sugar. And without noticing, you give it some. You open another tab, check something quickly, come back. But now you're no longer in the same mental state. You're not present anymore. And that's how hours go by. That's how days slip through your fingers. That's how life escapes you. Cognitive psychology is clear on this. Attention is a limited resource. Waste it on trivial things, and you become mentally poorer. It's like burning money on junk and then wondering why you can't afford what matters. Marcus Aurelius, in his war tent, would write late into the night while the empire was burning with problems. Outside, guards, noise, tension, decisions waiting to be made. But he didn't look outside. He didn't listen to the guards. He just wrote one line: "Let nothing distract you from the truth." That's mental discipline. Because if anyone had the right to be distracted, it was him, an emperor at war, carrying the weight of millions. And yet, he found his focus, because he knew his mind was his real weapon. If he lost that, he lost everything. Have you ever gone to work out or tried to focus on something? And by the end of the day, it's all slipped through your fingers thanks to interruptions. That's the enemy you don't see. It's not the world. It's not other people. It's the part of you that doesn't know how to say stop. That can't stop reacting. That needs to be connected, informed, busy. But busy doesn't mean productive, and being connected doesn't mean being present. Epictetus was ruthless about this. He said, "If you're a slave to external impulses, you cannot be free." And distraction is exactly that. Every time you check your phone because of a notification, you're being a slave. You didn't choose it. An app did. An app designed to capture your attention, and you obey like a reflex, like a trained animal. But there's something you can do, my friend. And it's not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. It means you have to decide to protect your attention like it's the most valuable thing you have. Because it is. Set aside a sacred block of time each day. 30 minutes, just 30, where nothing is allowed to interrupt you. Nothing. No calls, no messages, nothing. And during that block, you do one thing. Just one. No multitasking, no bouncing around. One thing, with your full attention. At first it'll be hard. Your mind will resist. It'll want to jump. It'll come up with excuses. It'll tell you something urgent needs your attention. But that's addiction talking. Because yes, you're addicted to distraction. And like any addiction, you need to face it. Replace notifications with manual check-ins. You start the action, not the app. Take back control. And a few times a day, do a Stoic check-in. Pause for a second and ask yourself, does this bring me closer or farther from the kind of person I want to be today? That question is an anchor. It brings you back to the present. It reminds you that you have a vision. You have a path. You have a destination. And every distraction is a detour. Peace doesn't come when the noise disappears. It comes when you decide to stop listening to it. Because the noise will always be there. There will always be 1,000 things demanding your attention, but you choose whether to give it or not. Your enemy isn't the world. It's the part of you that doesn't know how to say enough. Now tell me honestly, my friend, what's stealing your attention most in your day-to-day life? That silent thief draining your energy without you even realizing it. Share it in the comments, so others feel less alone in this too. And if you don't know what to say, just write, "Today, I take back my focus." Lesson 4. Don't turn a step into your final goal. There are moments when you feel like you've already made it. Not because you actually have, but because you've reached a point on the path that feels comfortable. Picture this. You get a promotion, a project, an opportunity you've been chasing for a while. Of course you feel good. There's relief, pride, a quiet sense of satisfaction telling you, I did it. But then, something subtle happens, almost invisible. You get comfortable, you relax, you lower your guard, you stop moving, you stop pushing, and without meaning to, you start confusing that one step with the top of the mountain. Seneca saw this all the time in Roman politics. People who reached a small success, a temporary win, and turned it into their permanent identity. They got stuck there. They lived off that one moment, telling the same story over and over again, as if it were their ultimate achievement, because the real danger isn't failure. The real danger is settling for a small success. Failure forces you to react. Small success puts you to sleep. It gives you the illusion that you don't need to try anymore. It's like life says, "Well done," and you hear, "You can stop now." And that's where the trap begins. Imagine stepping onto an escalator, but it only takes you to the first floor. You stop there, thinking you've arrived, not realizing the building has 20 more floors. Most people live like that. They stop at their first visible achievement and build their entire identity around it. And the years go by. That one achievement becomes their favorite story, their go-to anecdote, their excuse for not growing anymore. It becomes a little personal altar where they repeat the same lines. "Back then I did it. I could do it again. At that time I was unstoppable." But they never try again. Let me tell you something I saw up close. A guy who wanted to be a photographer. He was talented, dedicated, and had a unique eye for capturing hidden details. After months of hard work, he landed his first local exhibit. It wasn't a huge event, but for him, it meant everything. Validation, people congratulating him, some buyers interested, the recognition he'd been dreaming about for years. And right there, at that very moment, the sweet trap of small success appeared. He started repeating the same techniques, avoiding risk. He stopped studying, stopped experimenting. He stayed in the safe zone because, well, it had worked once. So why change? What he didn't see is that creativity doesn't feed on safety. It feeds on movement. And years later, he realized that first success became his mental ceiling, not his actual limit. He could have gone much further. He could have developed a style, a body of work, a solid career. But he kept living in that moment because it made him feel safe. And the human brain loves safety. So much that, once we achieve something, it triggers internal mechanisms that say, "This is it. Now protect it." You become conservative, cautious, afraid to fail. And without realizing it, you sit down on a step that was never meant for you to live on. A step is not a destination. A relationship is not your whole life. A job is not your purpose. An achievement doesn't define who you are. A win is not your identity. But we do this all the time. We cling to a result as if it's part of our essence. And when that result wobbles, we wobble with it. When someone questions it, we take it as a personal attack. When it stops working the same way, we believe we're the ones who've lost value. We never learn to separate what we achieved from who we are. Stoicism teaches a lesson that very few apply. Don't depend on external outcomes to feel grounded. If you settle into a result, you become its slave. Now you have to protect it, defend it, repeat it, maintain it, prove it. And all that energy, which should be used to grow, is now used to preserve. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. After military victories that anyone else would have celebrated for months, he would write in his journal, "Don't let success lift you or failure sink you." Because both are temporary, both are external, both are just noise compared to what truly matters, your character. Think about your last big achievement. I won't sugarcoat it. Did you use it as a launch pad or as an excuse to slow down? That question separates people who move forward from those who stay stuck. The ones who move forward see each achievement as a sign. This is possible. What else can I build? The ones who get stuck see each achievement as a trophy. I did it, now I can relax. There's nothing wrong with celebrating, nothing wrong with resting. The problem is turning that rest into a permanent state. Let me show you another angle, something more familiar. You've seen couples who put in tons of effort to win each other over, but once they're together, they stop trying. The relationship loses its spark, its presence, its vitality, because they fell in love with the first win, being together. And they forgot that relationships don't survive off that first success. They survive off continuous movement. The same thing happens at work. Talented people land a stable job and stay in it for 20 years doing the same thing. Not because it's their purpose, but because it's safe. And safety, which at first feels like a gift, slowly becomes a silent prison. I remember a woman who started a small business. At first, she was full of ideas, energy, excitement, and surprisingly, things took off fast. So fast that without realizing it, she stopped learning, stopped improving, stopped watching how the market was shifting. Her initial success gave her a false sense of invincibility, and the business fell. Not because she was a bad entrepreneur, but because she stopped moving. Life keeps going, even if you stop. And if you confuse a good moment for a final destination, the world will pass you by. Every achievement is a step, not a place to sit forever. And here's something most people don't consider. Sitting feels good. It feels deserved. After all your effort, you tell yourself, now I can finally rest. And yes, you can rest, you should rest, but rest is not a reason to stop moving. Rest is how you regain strength to keep climbing, not how you justify settling on a middle floor and convincing yourself it's the top. Let me give you another image. When someone achieves a really important goal, a degree, a certification, an award, professional recognition, they often experience something called single achievement syndrome. A psychological phenomenon where the brain, scared it won't be able to replicate the success, starts avoiding new challenges because it's afraid to lose what it gained. And ironically, that fear is what ends up killing their real potential. Caroline Miller, a researcher in the psychology of achievement, found that most people who get stuck after a big success don't do so because they lack ability, but because they're too attached to that success. They idolize it, they protect it, they turn it into their constant reference. But life isn't designed to honor our past references. It's designed to demand new versions of us. Think about this. If tomorrow you were handed something you've dreamed of for years, would you have a plan for after? Or would you just live off the high of that moment? That's where you see the difference between those who move forward and those who stall. The ones who move forward know that every goal is a doorway. The ones who stall believe every goal is a final wall. This is it. Seneca spoke of the danger of complacency, even among Rome's most powerful. He said life doesn't reward you for arriving once. It rewards you for keeping your momentum. Movement is life. Prolonged stillness is deterioration. And as harsh as it sounds, life isn't interested in you staying in one place just because it feels comfortable. So every time you achieve something, ask yourself, what is this showing me about my potential? And what's the next step? Not from an obsessive need to never feel satisfied, but from an honest curiosity. How far could I go if I don't stop here? Life isn't about collecting trophies. It's about seeing what version of yourself you can build. Make it a habit. Every time you reach something, big or small, ask yourself, now what? What door did this open? What can I explore from here? That question keeps you awake, keeps you light, keeps you creative, reminds you that you weren't born to replay the same scene on loop. Epictetus said it bluntly, what matters isn't what you achieve, it's the character you build while achieving it. Because you can lose results, but you don't lose character. And if you build your identity on results, you're fragile. If you build it on principles, on growth, on movement, you're unbreakable. Sometimes your worst enemy isn't defeat. It's the small win that puts you to sleep. That convinces you you don't need to try anymore. But life doesn't work like that. There's no moment where everything's done. There are pauses, yes, rest, yes, celebrations, absolutely. But no final endings, not while you're alive. There's always a next version of you waiting, always a next level of awareness, of skill, of purpose. So don't turn a good moment into a cage. Use it as a springboard, as momentum, as a sign that you're on the right path. Because every step you take is not the destination. It's just that, a step. And the road goes on, it always goes on, and you can keep walking it. Always. Lesson 5. What hurts today will move you tomorrow. How many times has something torn you up inside? And right there, in that exact moment, you found the strength to move. Probably more times than you remember. Maybe it was a conversation that left you shaken, a criticism you didn't expect, a silence that weighed too much. or a situation you simply couldn't hold on to anymore. And right there, at your most uncomfortable point, you discovered a kind of energy you didn't know you had. That's no coincidence. Seneca used to say that sometimes life pushes you because you refuse to walk. And if you really think about it, it makes sense. Many of the decisions you've taken seriously didn't come from peace. They came from exhaustion, from hitting a wall, from pain. That pain wasn't your enemy, it was your alarm. An alarm that had been ringing softly for a while, running in the background, while you made ridiculous efforts not to hear it. You knew that place wasn't for you anymore, but you justified it. You knew you were betraying your time, your energy, your life. But you told yourself, it's not that bad. You knew you were dimming your light just to fit into spaces that weren't built for you. But still, you stayed. You stayed until the pain got so loud you couldn't ignore it anymore. And no, that wasn't random. Pain almost never is. I know it's not easy to admit. I know it hurts to realize you've stayed too long, but that's the very function of pain, to show you you're drifting away from your path. Pain, when properly understood, is an honest signal, a precise compass. The problem isn't feeling it. The problem is ignoring it until it explodes. And you've done that too many times. That unease you feel every Sunday night. That emptiness when you realize the days keep passing and nothing changes. That sudden urge to cry after scrolling through someone else's life online. None of that is punishment. All of it is signaling you. All of it is asking you, please move. Pain is like a fire alarm. It's not pleasant. It's not soft. It's not convenient. It shatters your peace, startles you, bothers you, but if it didn't sound, you'd burn without noticing. Discomfort tells you exactly where your life is quietly burning. And you know how it works. Fire doesn't start big. It starts with a smell, a spark, a bit of smoke. You can choose to put it out early, or pretend everything's fine while the flames spread. Most people choose to pretend. Pretend nothing's wrong. Pretend they can handle it. Pretend that job, that relationship, that habit isn't draining their soul. But here's something nobody tells you. And maybe you need to hear it without sugarcoating. Your life doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you can't stand staying where you are anymore. It changes when the pain of staying outweighs the fear of leaving. That's the breaking point. That's the moment when people who seemed completely lost suddenly start making decisions that shock everyone. And it's not magic. It's saturation. It's a soul that finally says, enough. There's a researcher named Brené Brown who spent decades studying vulnerability, shame, and resilience. And she came to a conclusion that's uncomfortable, but deeply true. You can't grow without discomfort. You can't transform without walking through something that hurts. She explains that the people who live most fully aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who use it. Not as an excuse, but as a catalyst. Not as a burden, but as a revelation. Not as an enemy, but as fuel. And we're not talking about pretty quotes here. We're talking about neuroscience. The brain changes faster after emotionally intense experiences. When something shakes you, your mind rewires itself. Your priorities shift. Your values rearrange. It's like life hits the reset button and forces you to ask, what am I doing with my life? Why am I still here? What part of me is dying because I keep holding on to the same thing? You don't ask those questions in comfort. You ask them in pain. And that's what makes pain an opportunity. Because those questions are what reorient your destiny. They pull you out of autopilot and make you face what you really want, what you really are, what you're truly willing to allow or release. No masks, no excuses, no numbing. Marcus Aurelius went through that too. He didn't write from perfect temples or peaceful gardens. He wrote from exhaustion, from cold nights in military camps, with physical pain, political chaos, and an empire demanding more and more from him. And yet, he still had the clarity to write, "The obstacle is the way." He wrote that because he understood, sometimes we can't change what hurts, but we can turn it into direction. For him, Every hardship was internal training, a reminder of the kind of man he was choosing to be, even in discomfort. Epictetus lived it another way. He limped for life from a brutal injury. He could have been bitter, resentful, closed off to the world, but he chose something else. He turned his greatest limitation into wisdom. He taught from the scar, not from theory, and that gave him a kind of authority no one could touch. Because he knew, pain doesn't have to destroy you. It can rebuild you. It can become your voice, your strength, your way of impacting others. So let me ask you, not to judge, just to be honest. What are you doing with your pain? Are you using it as a reason to stay stuck, or as the push you finally need to move? Both options are there. You can keep telling yourself you've had bad luck, that life's unfair, that the timing wasn't right. And maybe that's true. But it's also true that repeating that story over and over again changes nothing. Or you can start asking, what is this pain trying to tell me? What part of your life are you holding on to out of fear, attachment, or habit, not conviction? Every time something hurts, ask it what it wants from you. Not to stay trapped in the emotion, but to give it direction. Because pain without direction destroys. Pain with direction transforms. That's the difference. When you use it, pain becomes a teacher, guiding you to make choices you never would have made before. Not because you suddenly became brave, but because you simply can't keep living like this anymore. The Stoics said it simply, better one step forward than 100 regrets. That's it. One step, just one. You don't need the full solution. You don't need to be perfectly clear. You just need to do something you were afraid to do before. A small, honest movement. Call someone, change a habit, speak a truth, write a plan, open one door, close another. Something. And here's a powerful practice. Write down what hurts and what that pain is asking from you. Put it into words. Clarity is half the path. Pain is always pointing at something that needs to be changed, released, or rebuilt. Ignoring it just makes it come back louder. It's like life keeps repeating the test until you pass it. Think of someone, maybe it's you, who lost a job they hated. In the moment it felt crushing, scary, like their whole world collapsed. But years later they look back and realize that was the start of their real life. That layoff was the opportunity they never would have chosen but absolutely needed, because it was the pain that broke the cage they'd been silently living in for years. Sometimes destiny shows up disguised as a breakup, a failure, an unexpected ending, and you interpret it as loss, because in that moment it is. But what you don't see is that you were holding together something that was already rotten, that your life was slowly shrinking, and the pain came to show you that. Not to punish you, but to free you. Brené Brown saw it over and over again in her research. The people who grow the most aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who face it, who step into it, who ask, what's on the other side of this? This isn't about romanticizing suffering. It's about not wasting a message that could change everything. Because if you're going to suffer anyway, at least let it mean something. At least let it move you toward a more honest life. Not everything that breaks you is here to destroy you. Sometimes it's here to wake you up, to show you you've been living a life that's far too small for you. And yes, it hurts. A lot. But that pain isn't the end. It's the threshold. It's the crack where the light gets in. It's the push you never gave yourself. And maybe the one you needed to finally leave the place where your soul was fading. So if it hurts today, listen. Don't drown it in noise, distractions, or excuses. That pain is speaking to you. It's trying to show you something. It wants to move you away from a place where you can no longer grow. And maybe tomorrow when you look back, you'll be surprised to realize that pain was the start of everything good that came next. If something in this spoke to you, let me know. Write in the comments. I turn my pain into direction. Lesson number 6. Don't fall in love with the first victory picture. Marcus Aurelius after a military victory. Crowds celebrating, generals shouting his name, the whole empire recognizing his greatness. And there he is, in silence, reminding himself, This too shall pass. The Stoics knew that falling in love with success is more dangerous than failing, because failure keeps you alert, but success puts you to sleep. It convinces you you've arrived, and that's when you start dying without even noticing. Let me give you a piece of advice I wish someone had told me sooner. Your first victory isn't a beautiful ending. It's a pleasant trap, because it shows up at the perfect time, after so much effort, so much sacrifice, so much doubt. And when you finally achieve something, your brain says, "Perfect, we did it. Time to relax." And you do. You relax. And that relaxation turns into complacency, and complacency turns into stagnation. And suddenly, you've spent years living off that one first win, as if it were your identity. The first victory is like an appetizer before a big meal. The problem is when you get full on that and lose your hunger. Because first wins validate you, but they don't complete your path. They're a sign you're on the right track, that you've got potential, that you're capable, but they're not the destination. They're signals. And mistaking a signal for a destination is the most common mistake people with talent make. A few years ago, I met a guy who published his first book. He sold 2,000 copies in the first month. For someone unknown, that's massive. He got excited, surrounded by praise, by glowing comments, by validation. And you know what happened after that? Nothing. He fell so in love with that little victory that he stopped writing. His success became his ceiling, because he had achieved what he wanted, to feel validated. And once he had that, he lost his hunger, lost the need to keep pushing. And that first victory became his last story. The biggest enemy after success is complacency. And complacency is quiet. It doesn't show up like an obvious threat. It shows up as satisfaction, as a well-deserved break, as your right to enjoy what you've achieved. And all of that is valid. But there's a fine line between enjoying a victory and staying stuck inside it, between celebrating a win and making it your only narrative. Nadia was a self-taught programmer. She landed her first big client. She was thrilled, celebrated, told the story 1,000 times. But then she stopped learning new tech. She stopped updating her skills, because she felt she had already proven what she needed to prove. A year later, she was outdated. Her skills were no longer competitive. And that first victory, the one that cost her so much, became the anchor that pulled her down, because she fell asleep in it. Success is a comfy chair in the middle of a marathon. You sit down for 5 minutes to catch your breath, and that's fine. But sometimes 5 minutes turn into half an hour, then an hour. And before you know it, you don't get up again. You get used to the comfort, and the race goes on without you. That's the danger of the first victory. It seduces you, makes you believe you can stop, that you can let your guard down, that you've done enough. But the Stoics didn't work like that. They knew the inner work continues even at the top. That success isn't identity, it's information. It tells you you're capable. It doesn't tell you who you are. And if you build your identity on one achievement, you become fragile. Because achievements are temporary. They can be lost, outdone, forgotten. But the character you build while chasing those achievements, that's yours. Seneca saw this all the time in Rome. People who, after getting a small win, would focus on showing it off instead of improving it. And he told them something brutal. Glory is an excess of light that blinds you. Because when you get dazzled by your own success, you stop seeing the path. You stop seeing your mistakes. You stop seeing your chances to grow. All you see is what you've already done, and that's where you stay. The brain loves the feeling of accomplishment and tends to slow down afterward. It's a known effect in psychology. After a reward, motivation drops. Your brain says, mission complete. Time to enjoy, and that's fine, Alain, for a break. But if you treat the reward as the end rather than a signpost, you lose momentum. On the other hand, if you use it as proof of what you're capable of and ask, what else can I do? Your drive multiplies. Yasuo Kuniyoshi was a painter who refused to repeat himself. Even though a certain series of paintings made him famous, Every time he succeeded with a style, he scrapped it. Started over. Because he understood something fundamental. Success is a beautiful cage. It traps you in what worked. It forces you to repeat yourself. And if you're not careful, you spend the rest of your life being a copy of your best moment. Think back to the last time you achieved something that excited you. What happened after? Did you keep pushing? Or did you slow down without realizing it? Because that answer tells you everything about how you handle success. And if you slowed down, you're not alone. Almost all of us do. But recognizing it is the first step to changing it. Every time you achieve something, ask yourself, what is this result showing me about my potential? And what's the next logical step? Not from toxic ambition that's never satisfied, but from honest curiosity about what else you're capable of building. Because life isn't about stacking wins. It's about discovering versions of yourself you didn't know existed. Treat the first victory as a reminder, not a reward. A reminder that you're capable. That effort pays off. That the path you chose makes sense. But don't stay there. Don't turn that moment into your ceiling. Use it as the floor of your next level. Before bed, ask yourself, what did I do today that would still be worth doing even if no one saw it? That question is Stoicism at its core, because it pulls you out of the game of external validation and into the real work. The work that builds character, not just results. Don't rely on applause, my friend. Don't believe you're special because of one win. Because the moment your identity depends on what you achieved, you become a slave to maintaining it. And your energy, which should be used to grow, is spent protecting, defending, justifying. That's not living. That's surviving. Don't let your first win become your last story. Because if 10 years from now you're still telling the same one, it means you stopped. You stopped building. You froze your life in that one moment, and it never moved again. That's not success. It's a quiet tragedy. The most dangerous kind of success is the one that makes you stop. That convinces you everything's already done. That tells you it's okay to coast. But you can't. None of us can. Because life keeps moving. And if you don't move with it, you fall behind. Not all at once. Slowly. So slowly you don't even notice. Until one day you realize the world kept going. And you were still celebrating a win from years ago. Use every victory as fuel, not as a finish line. As momentum, not a monument. Because what you achieved once is proof that you can achieve more. And that more isn't empty ambition. It's the honest recognition that you're here to grow. To see how far you can go. To build a life that doesn't stop at the first station. Lesson number 7. Knowing when to close a chapter is also success. There's something you don't want to admit. You're still in places where you no longer belong, and you know it. But you stay, out of fear, out of habit, or out of nostalgia. The Stoics saw this as self-deception, clinging to an old version of yourself. And that kind of deception has a brutal cost. Because every day you spend holding on to something that's already dead, you're burning energy you could be using to build what's next. You feel it. When a job no longer challenges you. When a friendship no longer brings you peace. When a project no longer aligns with the person you are today. You know it. But you pretend you don't. You make up excuses. You say it's stable, that it's comfortable, that you've already invested too much time. But all those reasons are the same. They're just elegant ways of saying, I'm afraid to let go. Think of mental rooms. Each phase of your life is like a room. And sometimes the room gets too small. You don't fit in it anymore. Your ideas crash against the walls. Your projects don't have space. Your current self feels boxed in. But you stay because it's familiar. Because you know where everything is. Because walking out means facing the unknown. And that's scary. But closing a chapter isn't burning down the house. It's opening another door. It's recognizing that there was a time when that room was perfect for you. It protected you, taught you, gave you what you needed. But not anymore. Staying isn't loyalty. It's resistance to change. Marcus Aurelius said it constantly. Life moves forward, but we insist on staying still. And that stillness starts to rot you from the inside. In ancient Rome, there was a legend about a merchant who carried all the goods he'd ever sold. He walked around with broken vases, faded fabrics, rotting fruit. People asked him why he kept carrying all of it. And he'd say, because once, it had value. Until one day the weight brought him to his knees. He couldn't go on. And only then did he understand. Honoring the past doesn't mean carrying it forever. It means thanking it and letting it go. You do the same. You carry relationships that are already lifeless. Jobs that no longer represent you. Dreams that are no longer yours. And you tell yourself you can't leave because you've invested too much. But that's a trap. Time invested isn't a reason to stay. It's proof that you already gave more than enough. Seneca understood this deeply. Letting go is also a way of moving forward. Your brain craves continuity because the unknown triggers anxiety. It's a survival mechanism. Your mind prefers the pain it knows over the good it doesn't. Because the pain you know is predictable. You know how to handle it. You know what to expect. But growth doesn't happen through forced permanence. It happens in transition. In that uncomfortable space between who you were and who you're about to become. Epictetus, even in old age, taught that resistance to change is the root of most human suffering. And he put it simply, if you're no longer growing there, why are you still there? There's no answer to that isn't an excuse. Because the truth is, you're staying out of fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of disappointing others, fear of starting from zero. But that fear is costing you something far more valuable than comfort. It's costing you your life. Ask yourself this, my friend. Am I here by choice or by inertia? That question is a scalpel. It cuts through the whole narrative you've built and leaves only the truth. Because if you're here by inertia, this isn't a life. It's a voluntary sentence. And the worst part is you've convinced yourself that you don't have a choice. But you always do. What you don't have is the courage to take it. Closing a chapter is not giving up. It's recognizing a natural cycle. Seasons change whether you like it or not. Autumn arrives and the leaves fall. That's not a tragedy, it's the order of things. But we cling to dead leaves like we could stop time. Like denying change will somehow make it go away. And meanwhile, the tree can't prepare for spring, because you're still holding on to what should have already fallen. Think about your last week. How many hours did you spend holding on to something that no longer wants to grow? A project that no longer excites you? A conversation that always ends the same? A routine that drains you? Add up those hours and you'll realize you're putting more energy into keeping the dead alive than into building what's still full of life. That's not coherence. That's cowardice dressed as responsibility. Seneca saw it constantly. Rich people, powerful people, busy people who couldn't let go of their roles even when they were killing them, because they'd built their entire identity around them. Letting go meant losing who they thought they were. But he'd remind them of something brutal. What you can't let go of owns you. You don't have the job has you. You're not holding the relationship is holding you prisoner. The emotional cost of holding on to what's dead is far greater than the cost of letting go. Because when you let go, it hurts once. It hurts deeply, yes, but it ends. When you hold on to what's dead, it hurts every single day. A dull, constant ache that wears you down without you noticing. Until one day, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself anymore. Because you've been living a life you didn't choose. Just because you never had the courage to close what was already over. Let yourself feel the sadness of closing a chapter. It's not weakness, it's proof that it mattered to you. Honor what it was. Be grateful for what it gave you. But don't turn it into a prison. There's a massive difference between remembering with gratitude and staying trapped in nostalgia. Gratitude frees you. Nostalgia chains you. Before you go to sleep tonight, write down one part of your life that no longer fits who you are today. You don't have to take action yet. Just seeing it clearly already shifts something inside you. Because once you admit it, you can't pretend anymore. And that discomfort is the start of change. It's the crack where clarity enters. Life moves into new phases whether you want it to or not. You can resist. You can deny. You can cling with everything you've got, but change will come anyway. And when it does, you'll have two choices: adapt or break. The Stoics chose to adapt, not because it was easy, but because it was the only thing under their control. They couldn't control the seasons, but they could control how they lived through them. Stop watering what no longer wants to grow. Stop clinging to the old version of yourself just because it feels familiar. That version did its job. It got you here, but it's not meant to take you where you need to go. And if you keep using it, it's like trying to run a marathon in 10-year-old shoes. Maybe they fit once, but now they only hurt you. Closing a chapter doesn't make you smaller. It prepares you. It clears the space for what's next, for the person you're becoming, for the life you're about to build. And yes, it's scary, but staying stuck is scarier, because that's the silent fear, the fear that doesn't scream, but slowly kills. The fear of reaching the end of your life and realizing you never closed the doors you were meant to close, that you never let go of what needed to be left behind, that you lived trapped in small rooms because you were too afraid to open new doors. Lesson number 8, 4 phases that prepare you for your destiny. My friend, you don't fail because you're incapable. You fail because you skip stages. And the Stoics had already identified the 4 phases we all go through before reaching something great. They're not mystical secrets, they're natural processes, but most people go through them without knowing. And when you don't understand which phase you're in, you get lost, you get frustrated, you give up, you think something is wrong, and when in truth everything is unfolding as it should, you're just in an uncomfortable phase. Think of building your destiny like preparing for a long journey. You need 4 things: to believe it's worth setting out, to reduce your baggage, to follow the map even when the terrain feels unfamiliar, and to stop looking back. Marcus Aurelius went through the same phases. So do you. The problem is, no one ever told you these were phases. No one ever explained that the discomfort you feel isn't failure, it's part of the path. Phase 1 is rational faith. This isn't spiritual. It's trust in your direction. It's believing before you can see. And that goes against what you've been taught. You were told to wait for results before committing. But life doesn't work that way. First you believe, then you act, and only then do you see. When you start something without guarantees, a business, a move, a personal project, you're in this phase, and it's the most fragile. Everyone will question you. You'll have no proof yet, just an inner sense. And the Stoics would say, that sense is enough. Marcus Aurelius saw it as a commitment, not to the outcome, but to yourself. You've been here. That moment you made an important decision without knowing exactly how it would turn out. When you took a step forward, even if no one else understood why, that was phase 1. And if you waited for certainty, if you needed everything to be guaranteed, maybe you never started at all. Phase 2 is the fracture. This is where you have to change. And yes, it hurts. This is when life confronts you. A critique that stings, a mistake that exposes you, a truth you didn't want to face. Seneca used to say, no one changes in comfort, and he was right. You change when something shakes you enough that you can't stay the same. This phase isn't optional. You either break or you get stuck. Think of it like the seasons. In spring, your intention is born. In summer, you grow and expose yourself. In autumn, you shed what no longer serves you. In winter, you grow stronger from within. The fracture is autumn, the moment when you have to let go of old leaves. It's painful, because those leaves were part of you. But if you don't drop them, you can't prepare for the next season. Phase 3 is the process. Moving forward, even when it doesn't make sense. This is the longest phase, the most frustrating, because you're doing the work, but the results haven't arrived. You're growing, but you can't see it. You're advancing, but there's nothing to show for it. People ask you, how's it going? And you don't know what to say. It's not bad, but there's nothing visible yet. This is where Epictetus brings in discipline. Behave like the person you want to become. even before you feel like that person. Because if you wait to feel ready, you'll never act. This is where most people quit. They think, if there are no results, it must not be working. But it is. Progress is just happening underground. Roots grow before branches appear. You've been here too. That habit you're trying to build, that project you've started, that uncomfortable but necessary change. It's all part of the process. The only way through is to stop rushing. Don't try to force results. Just keep going. One day at a time. No drama, no applause, just steady action. Phase 4 is separation. Letting go of the old version of yourself. Letting go of habits, people, environments, or mindsets that no longer fit. It's like updating your system. And now, some of the apps, the things that used to work, are no longer compatible. If you try to keep them, the whole system slows down. It crashes. It doesn't work. This phase also hurts, because it brings grief. Even when you know it's the right decision, you're letting go of things that once mattered deeply. Relationships that walked with you. Environments that made you feel safe. Past versions of you that got you this far. And even if they no longer serve you, letting go still feels like loss. Marcus Aurelius would write about how each phase prepared him for the next. He knew that what tests you today strengthens you for tomorrow. Because the phases don't always move in order. Sometimes you return to the fracture, sometimes back into the process. But each time you move through one, you come out stronger, clearer, more prepared. So ask yourself, which phase are you in? If it's phase 1, stop looking for results, just believe. If it's phase 2, don't resist the fracture, let it reshape you. If it's phase 3, don't rush. Trust the invisible progress. If it's phase 4, don't hold on. Let go of what no longer fits. The biggest trap is rushing through phase 3. You want results now, validation now. But this kind of growth can't be rushed. It must be respected. If you try to force it, you'll only frustrate yourself. You're measuring with the wrong metrics, looking for fruit when you should be watering roots. And don't mistake phase 2 for failure. Pain doesn't mean something's wrong. It means something is changing. That pain is information, not punishment. It's telling you which parts of yourself need to evolve, which beliefs need to shift, which parts of your old self need to die so new parts can be born. Accept that phase 4 comes with grief, even when it's the right step. Letting go is hard, it always is. But it's necessary. Feel the grief. Walk through it. Don't bury it in distractions. Don't fake your way past it. Just feel it. Because on the other side of that grief is the person you're becoming. No one reaches their destiny without walking through these 4 doors. It's not magic, and it's process. Not luck, discipline. Not talent, patience. And once you understand which phase you're in, you stop fighting it. You stop asking, why is this so hard? Because now you know. It's hard because you're growing. And growing always hurts. It's uncomfortable. It demands you let go of who you used to be. But on the other side of all that is your destiny. And it's worth every phase, every fracture, every invisible step. If you know what phase you're in, then you know how to move forward. Lesson 9. Those who don't quit make it. Sometimes you think life is trying to tell you this isn't for you, when really, you're just still in the phase where nothing's moving yet. Epictetus explained it simply. You're confusing silence with failure. You think the lack of results means lack of progress, and in that misunderstanding, you walk away. You give up. You abandon things right when you were starting to build something that simply wasn't visible yet. My friend, it's not that you lack ability, you lack endurance. It's not that you lack intelligence, you lack consistency. I say this with care, but also with clarity, because even Marcus Aurelius, tired, in pain, and weighed down by decisions that could shift the fate of an empire, wrote something that feels made for you and me. What endures, wins. That phrase isn't meant to be epic. It's a reminder that most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they quit before discovering what they were capable of. Picture this. It's you. No need to imagine a character. You could be anywhere, sitting at your desk, on a park bench, at that cafe where you always go to think, or to avoid thinking. You're reviewing your life. You realize you've started a ton of things: courses, habits, projects, routines, ideas, relationships, fitness plans, career changes, and many of them never made it past the first month. Some didn't even make it past the first weekend, not because they didn't work, but because you didn't stick around long enough to find out. It's hard to admit, but also freeing. You didn't fail, you quit too soon. Sometimes life tests exactly that, your ability to stay when the excitement fades. Epictetus put it almost sarcastically. What matters is not starting, it's sticking with it. He wasn't impressed by people who started strong, but by those who finished strong. You can have a mediocre beginning and still build something great, if you stick with it. But you can start brilliantly and still end up with nothing if you bail halfway through. As Epictetus said, character is revealed by what we repeat, and Hugo's story is proof of that in the most powerful way. Hugo was 17 when he decided he wanted to cook. He wasn't one of those prodigies who stunned people in the kitchen as a kid. In fact, his first omelet was so bad, his mom laughed and told him maybe his destiny lay elsewhere. But something happened, something that often sparks great beginnings. A kind of quiet pull, a mix of curiosity and stubbornness. He wanted to cook, even if he didn't know how. The problem was, he lived in a tiny town where professional cooking sounded as distant as becoming an astronaut. Still, every afternoon after school, he'd shut himself in the kitchen. He had no mentor, no equipment, no formal training, just a hunger to learn and a notebook where he wrote down every failure like clues. One day he'd burn the sauce, another day the dough would fall apart, another the meat would turn to stone. But he kept going, because something in him didn't know how to quit. At 18, he made a decision his family thought was insane. He applied to a Michelin-starred restaurant. No training, no experience, no references, just an email, written with more hope than credibility. He got rejected the next day. No sugarcoating, no explanation. And instead of breaking him, that rejection lit something up inside. All right, first no, let's go get the second. And he did, because Hugo had that strange mix of naivety and boldness that makes some people knock on doors others are too afraid to approach. The second time, he brought a tiny portfolio with pictures of his dishes. Homemade shots, bad lighting, but taken with pride. Another rejection. This time they told him his techniques were too basic, so he went home and spent the whole summer watching tutorials, copying complex recipes, breaking cheap knives, crying with frustration when his dough refused to rise. That's when he began to understand what Epictetus meant. If something truly matters to you, you don't give up because it's hard. You accept the difficulty as part of the path. In autumn, he tried again. Rejection number 3. This time they told him he was too young. That one hit hard. He shut his bedroom door and felt that tightness in the chest, the kind that makes you question everything. What if I'm not good enough? What if they see something I don't? What if I'm chasing a ridiculous dream? But then he opened his notebook, the one filled with his failures, and read a phrase he had written months earlier. If I quit today, I'll never know what could have happened tomorrow. And he got back up. 4th try, rejected. 5th try, rejected. Now he had every reason to stop. 5 rejections sting. They shake your confidence. 5 rejections make anyone doubt themselves. Even his mother gently suggested it might be time to think about a plan B. But that's when something shifted, something that defines those who make it. Hugo decided that if he was going to try again, he wouldn't go to ask for a chance. He'd go to prove he deserved one. He spent months studying obsessively, not just cooking, but stress management. How a real kitchen operates, how a chef thinks when designing a menu. He practiced advanced techniques using tools he had to improvise because he couldn't afford them. If he needed a mandolin, he used a grater and a board. If he needed to control temperature, he used a cheap thermometer and patience. He documented everything. But more important than the technical progress was this. He learned to listen to his rejections. Each one had told him something. Too young, not enough technique, no experience, no personal style. So he turned each critique into a goal. Where others saw locked doors, he saw a map. When he showed up a sixth time, he didn't bring photos. He didn't write a clever email. He brought a notebook, full of improvements with dates, notes, experiments, and corrections. He brought dedication, craft, hours of failure turned into learning. Above all, he brought persistence. He walked into reception, hands trembling, eyes steady. The head chef took one look at him and said, without even opening his notebook, "Nobody comes back 6 times. Come in. Show me what you can do." That day, Hugo stepped into a professional kitchen for the first time. That day, he realized that persistence speaks a language we all understand, even the toughest people. That day, he confirmed what Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Endurance is stronger than talent." The first months were hell. He made stupid mistakes. He wanted to quit 1,000 times. He felt clumsy, slow, out of place. His co-workers gave him that, "What's this kid doing here?" look. But he had already survived 5 rejections. He already knew how to endure. He already knew most people give up right before the breakthrough, so he stayed quiet, learning, watching, sharpening every move. 5 years later, he was a sous chef, leading full shifts, designing dishes featured in major food magazines. And when someone asked him what his secret was, he didn't talk about technique or talent or creativity. He smiled like someone who knows a simple truth and said, "I didn't leave." That phrase says it all. I didn't leave. I didn't quit. I didn't let one no define my future. I didn't take 5 rejections as a closed door. I didn't let exhaustion be my excuse. I didn't let doubt decide for me. And most importantly, I kept showing up. That's the essence of persistence, showing up, even when everything says it's pointless. Sticking with it when your mind is tired, when results aren't showing, when others are moving faster, when all you see are your own mistakes. Persistence isn't about being strong. It's about being loyal to the person you want to become. Hugo wasn't special. He had no connections, no advantages. The only thing he had was a decision, invisible to others, massive to him, to keep going. And that was enough to move mountains. Life works the same way. Sometimes it asks you to hold on just a little longer, right when it feels like nothing's working. Even Marcus Aurelius, on his hardest nights, wrote that some days, just getting out of bed felt like a battle. Him, an emperor. And still he understood something you need to remember. It's not about feeling like it. It's about doing what needs to be done today. Persistence has a quiet enemy, comparison. You think others are moving faster, more talented, gifted with some natural ability you don't have. But you're only seeing the final result. You don't see their process, their grind, their accumulation. And your brain plays a trick on you. It shows you their fruit and hides their roots. And you think your roots are weak when really, you just haven't watered them long enough. Listen, most people don't quit because they're incapable. They quit because they expected results too soon. Your brain is wired to crave instant rewards, and when it doesn't get them, it thinks something is wrong. But nothing's wrong. You're just building something that takes more time than your impatience wants to accept. The real question is, what do you do when you don't see results? Most people stop. The Stoic keeps going. Not because they're unshakable, but because they know the lack of results isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign to adjust, to observe, to stay present. The Stoics had a concept that might help you: prososche, attention to the present. Meaning, don't focus on what's missing. Focus on the next small action, just one, then another, then another. That's how real change is built. Try this. The next time you feel like quitting, don't make an emotional decision. Pause the judgment. Don't quit on a bad day. Just do the next action, the smallest one, the one that doesn't overwhelm you. Then reassess. Most of the time, you don't really want to give up. You just need rest. And those are not the same thing. This will help too. Give anything you care about a real 3 months before judging it, not scattered weeks. 3 months of steady effort, bit by bit, because that minimum shifts the structure of your brain. It makes the habit stop depending on emotion and start depending on identity. People who stick with something for 3 straight months stop saying, "I'm trying." They start saying, "This is who I am." In the end, persistence is a form of respect. Respect for the person you're becoming. Respect for your vision. Respect for the process. Seneca said it best. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And opportunity always shows up. The real challenge is being ready when it does. Most people aren't because they quit before they're ready. Here's the truth, my friend. You'll get there not because you're special, but because you stayed. Because you didn't walk away when others did. Because you understood that progress is slow, silent, and cumulative. Because you knew that frustration isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of growth. Because you accepted that nothing blooms without time. Because you discovered that consistency is more powerful than perfection. Those who don't quit make it. And you can make it too. You just have to stay here a little longer. Now let me ask you a question. Maybe one you've never asked yourself. What's something you started once and gave up on too soon? Write it in the comments, not to judge yourself, but so we can revisit it together with new eyes. Or if you want to keep it simple, just write, "This time, I'm not leaving." Lesson 10. Your focus determines your energy. Your mind is like a flashlight. Wherever you point it, you bring light. Wherever you don't, there's darkness. And the strange thing is, most people spend their lives shining that light on small problems and leaving what truly matters in the shadows. Marcus Aurelius saw this clearly. Your energy follows your attention, not the other way around. It's not that you don't have energy. It's that you're spending it on things that don't move you forward and don't represent who you really are. You've felt it before. You wake up feeling energized, ready to go, but by mid-morning you're already drained and you haven't even done anything important yet. It's not black magic. It's broken focus. You're leaking energy into things that don't matter. Notifications, empty conversations, worries you can't control. So when it's finally time to do something meaningful, you've got nothing left. Energy follows attention, that's the key. If you focus on problems, you fill yourself with problems. If you focus on drama, you fill yourself with drama. If you focus on what you can't control, you fill yourself with anxiety. But if you focus on what matters, what does depend on you, what gets you closer to your vision, your energy multiplies. Because you're not leaking it, you're concentrating it. Think of your mind like a stream of water. If the stream is scattered, it splashes and loses force. But if it's focused, it can cut through stone. Your energy works the same way. Focus is power, distraction is weakness. And you live distracted, jumping from one thing to the next, splitting your attention across a dozen screens, trying to do everything at once, and in the end, doing nothing well. And you wonder why you're exhausted, even though you barely got anything done. My friend Marta learned this the hard way. She's an architect and she used to feel constantly drained. She worked long hours, but her projects never seemed to move forward. She felt empty. After months of tracking her routine, she uncovered the real issue. She was bleeding energy because she was constantly splitting her focus, replying to messages while designing, checking notifications mid-conversation, jumping between projects without finishing any. Her mind was never in one place, and it was wearing her down. When she started working in focused time blocks, her energy multiplied. It wasn't magic, it was focus. The more you scatter your focus, the more tired you feel. That's pure neuroscience. Every time you switch tasks, you burn mental energy. It's called cognitive switching cost, and it builds up. Switch tabs, lose energy. Check your phone, lose energy. Jump into a new conversation, lose energy. And by the end of the day, even if you haven't done anything physical, you're exhausted because your brain has been running an invisible marathon. Seneca would have observed Marta calmly from his desk, watching how the mind weakens when it chases every distraction. And he once said something very simple: if everything matters to you, then nothing does. Because when you try to focus on everything, you end up focusing on nothing. Your attention gets fragmented, and with it your energy, and with that your ability to build something meaningful. Look at your last day. What got your best hours? Not what matters most. What made the most noise? What was urgent, not important? And that's a trap. Because there will always be something urgent. There will always be a message to answer, a notification to check, a distraction waiting. But if you spend your days reacting to what's loud, you never get around to building what's true. An Olympic athlete once said that what kept him moving forward wasn't strength. It was his ability to ignore everything unrelated to his training. "My energy follows my gaze," he said. Epictetus would have applauded. Because that's exactly what the Stoics taught. Choose where your mind goes. Don't let the world direct it. Don't react to every little trigger. Decide. Choose. Protect your attention like it's the most valuable thing you have. Because it is. Focus isn't rigidity. It's direction. It's not about obsessing over one thing and forgetting the rest of your life. It's about knowing what deserves your best energy and giving it. It's about not wasting your mental clarity on things that won't take you anywhere. Your mental energy is limited, and every time you spend it on the trivial, you're robbing it from the essential. Take a look at your phone. How many times did you open it with no intention, no reason, just out of reflex? And every time you did, you lost a bit of focus. You broke the thread of what you were doing. And getting back on track costs you more than you think. Because your mind needs time to go deep. Every interruption pulls it back to the surface, and you start again, and you never reach depth. Hilary Hahn, a world-class violinist, practices with absolute focus. 60-minute sessions, no distractions, no multitasking. It's not about being an artist. It's about applying discipline through focus. Because she knows her best work doesn't come from practicing more hours. It comes from practicing with her full attention. And that's what you need. Not more hours, more attention. Every morning choose 3 things that truly deserve your energy, not 12. 3. And give those 3 things your best, not what's left over after 100 little distractions. Your best moment, your clearest thinking, your sharpest focus. Because if you give your best energy to what doesn't matter, you'll have nothing left for what does. Set a 15-minute timer. Don't change tasks, just 15. Watch how your energy starts to shift, because you're training the muscle of focus. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with practice. It's hard at first. Your mind will resist, it will want to jump to escape. But if you stay, if you hold steady, the muscle grows. And with time, it gets easier. Don't start conversations you can't finish. Don't make promises you won't keep. Every micro-commitment you handle poorly burns mental energy, because your brain stores them in the background, to be done later. And they pile up, and they weigh you down, and they drain you, even if you don't see it. Even if you don't feel it, they're there, quietly burning energy in the background. The Stoics taught us to choose where to put our mind because they knew that emotional exhaustion comes from looking in the wrong direction, focusing on what's outside your control, worrying about others' opinions, chasing validation. All of that consumes massive energy and gives you nothing in return, just anxiety, just emptiness, just fatigue. Your energy isn't lost. It's leaking through where you look. If you look at problems, it leaks into problems. If you look at drama, it leaks into drama. If you look at what matters, it concentrates. And that's when it becomes powerful. When your focus aligns, your life aligns. Because you stop reacting and start building. You stop scattering and start advancing. And that's not magic. It's discipline. It's choice. It's protecting your attention like your destiny depends on it. Because it does. Lesson 11. Your mind grows stronger where you look. Have you noticed that when you obsess over a problem, that problem seems to multiply? That's not dark magic. It's misdirected attention. The Stoics understood this centuries before psychology explained it. Your mind strengthens whatever you look at repeatedly. And most people spend their days looking at what's not working, what's missing, what hurts. And then they wonder why their life feels like a battlefield. Your mind is not neutral. It grows in the direction you point your gaze. Think of your attention like the light on a stage. Whatever you illuminate comes to life. It becomes more real, more present, more powerful. Whatever you leave in the dark loses strength. It fades. It becomes irrelevant. And every day you choose what you illuminate. The problem is that almost no one does it consciously. They illuminate by reflex, by habit, by whatever screams the loudest. If I asked you right now to name 3 mistakes you made this week, you'd say them instantly. But if I asked for 3 good things you did, you'd struggle more. Not because they don't exist, but because you don't look at them. Your attention is trained to look for what's wrong, to detect problems, to spot threats. That made sense for survival, but it's terrible for your growth. Marcus Aurelius said it in a brutal way. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And the quality of your thoughts depends on where you put your attention. Because what you exercise grows, what you ignore atrophies, and your life works the same way. If you exercise complaining, you become an expert complainer. If you exercise gratitude, you become an expert at finding reasons to be grateful. This isn't cheap optimism, it's mental direction. In ancient Greece, there was a legend about a sculptor who would spend hours looking at a stone before touching it. People asked him why he wasted so much time staring at it, and he said, "I'm not looking at the stone, I'm looking at what's inside it. When I can see it clearly, the rest is just work." That's the difference between someone who builds something extraordinary and someone who just breaks rocks. It's the direction of the gaze. Lucia decides to start running. Her first 2 weeks are rough. She focuses only on how tired she is, on how slow she goes, on how far she is from running 5 kilometers. And she gets discouraged. Every day feels like a battle, until a friend tells her, "Look at what's growing, not at what isn't yet." And Lucia starts tracking micro improvements. 1 more minute, 30 more seconds, 1 day without excuses. Her motivation takes off. Not because her ability changed, but because her focus changed. And when her focus changed, her energy changed. And when her energy changed, her results changed. This isn't self-deception, it's neuroplasticity. Your brain trains connections depending on where you focus. If you focus on problems, your brain becomes an expert at finding problems. If you focus on solutions, your brain becomes an expert at finding solutions. It's not magic, it's biology. That's how your mind works. And most people use this mechanism against themselves. Epictetus observed his students. Some focused on their flaws, others on their progress. And he told them something simple. The one who looks at the worst in himself becomes small. The one who looks at the best grows. Because it's not about denying your mistakes. It's about not building your identity around them. It's about acknowledging them, correcting them, and then moving your gaze to what you are building. Attention is nutrition. What you feed grows. If you feed your insecurity with constant attention, your insecurity grows. If you feed your fear with constant attention, your fear grows. If you feed your progress with constant attention, your progress grows. It's that simple and that brutal. And every day you choose what you feed with your gaze. Seneca warned about comparison. He said it creates mental poverty, because when you compare, you put your attention on what others have and you don't. And that attention feeds the feeling of lack, even if you have a lot, even if you're advancing, even if you're doing well. Comparison empties you because it directs your gaze outward. And everything that's outside is out of your control. And when your attention is on what you can't control, you lose power. There's a brutal cognitive bias called confirmation bias. Your mind looks for evidence of what it already believes. If you believe you can't, your mind looks for proof that you can't. If you believe you can, your mind looks for proof that you can. And it finds what it looks for. Always. because the evidence is there on both sides, but your attention only illuminates one, and that becomes your reality. Change your daily question from what went wrong to what did I strengthen today? That question redirects your gaze. It forces you to look for signs of growth. And when you look for growth, you find it. And when you find it, your identity changes. Because you start seeing yourself as someone who grows, not someone who fails. And that difference changes everything. Notice the moments when your attention drifts toward automatic negative narratives. Those moments when your mind starts telling you stories about why you can't, why it won't work, why you're not enough. Interrupt that narrative, not with forced positivity, with questions. Is this true? Is this useful? Is this what I want to strengthen? Because every time you give it attention, you strengthen it. Choose one point of focus each week. Discipline, calm, consistency, courage. Something that reminds you where to look. And throughout that week, every time your attention drifts, bring it back to that point. Not as an obligation, as training. You're training the muscle of directed attention. And like any muscle, it strengthens with practice. You walk down the street and you see trash. You see problems. You see chaos. But there are also trees. There's a sky. There are people building things. And what you see depends on where you look. It's not about denying the trash. It's about not turning it into your whole reality. Because if you only look at the trash, your life becomes trash. Not because there's nothing else, but because you left everything else in the dark. You're at the gym. People are lifting weights, others are running, others are starting their routine. And suddenly you realize something strange. Everyone knows exactly what muscle they're training, except you with your mind. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. What you exercise grows, what you ignore atrophies, and your life works the same way. Which mental muscle are you training each day? The muscle of complaint or the muscle of progress? The muscle of fear or the muscle of action? The muscle of comparison or the muscle of construction? Your mind doesn't get stronger by accident, but by repetition. And repetition starts with the gaze. By choosing consciously what deserves your attention and what doesn't. By protecting your focus as if it were the most valuable thing you have. Because it is, my friend. Your attention is the scarcest resource you have. And most people give it away, throw it away, scatter it, and then wonder why they feel weak, why they feel lost, why they feel empty. Look better, grow better. Lesson 12. You only reach what you keep in sight. Picture this. You're driving, first traffic light, second, third. You fix your gaze on a distant point in the road to avoid getting dizzy. Life works the same way. If you don't keep your eyes on a fixed point, everything starts to wobble. And most people live dizzy, not because the road is impossible, but because their gaze jumps from one thing to another. Today they want this, tomorrow something else, next week something different again. And they never get anywhere because they never keep their eyes on one thing long enough. There's something you've wanted for a long time. I know it, and so do you. But you haven't reached it because you look at it and then look at everything you're missing to get there. And that breaks your focus because you're not looking at the destination. You're looking at the distance. And the distance is always big when you're starting. It's always dizzying, it always feels impossible, but it isn't. It's just long. And the long can be crossed if your gaze stays steady. The Stoics knew this well. Your destiny doesn't come true through luck, but through sustained focus. Not through talent, not through opportunity. Through the ability to keep your attention on what matters while everything around you screams. While opinions pull you down. While comparisons distract you. While doubts whisper. And that ability isn't innate, it's trained. And you train it by deciding every day that your vision matters more than the noise. Think of your vision as the North Star. If you look at it on and off, you'll get lost. You look today, don't look tomorrow. Take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, change direction every week, and by the end of the year, you're still in the same place. But if you hold your gaze even when clouds cover it, you keep moving forward. Because you don't need to see it all the time. You just need to not forget where it is. Just need to remember the direction you were facing when you started. You reach what you're able to keep in sight. That's the rule. You don't reach what you deserve. You don't reach what you dream. You reach what you hold in your gaze. Because holding your gaze is holding your intention. And holding your intention is holding your action. And holding your action is building your destiny. Step by step, day by day. No spectacle, no applause. Just invisible consistency that later turns into visible results. The world is designed to break your focus. Opinions that make you question yourself. Comparisons that weaken you. Interruptions that pull you away. And if you don't protect your gaze, the world chooses for you. It takes you where it wants, not where you want. And years later, you realize you lived the life everyone expected, not the one you chose, because you never kept your gaze steady long enough to build your own. Seneca would sit at his desk reviewing each line he wrote, not to make it perfect, but to remember that his purpose wasn't to impress, it was to understand. That kind of inner focus is what sustained him, because his gaze was on the process, on the work, on the building, not on applause, not on recognition, and that made him free, because his destiny didn't depend on what others thought. It depended on what he could keep in his sight. Visual consistency is mental consistency. If you can hold a clear image of what you want to build, your mind starts working for you. Even if you don't notice it, even if you don't feel it, your brain starts looking for opportunities, spotting resources, connecting information. All of that happens in the background, but only if the image is clear, if you hold it, if you don't change it every week, because your brain can't build something that keeps changing shape. There's a theory in psychology called the dominant goal. Whatever you hold as your top priority ends up guiding your decisions unconsciously. Even if you don't notice, even if you think you're choosing freely, that dominant goal is there, filtering options, steering actions, moving energy. But it only works if it's clear, if it's stable, if it doesn't shift the moment something gets uncomfortable. Motivation drops. That's normal. Some days you feel nothing. Some days everything feels gray. Days when you wonder if it's even worth it to keep going. But if your vision is stable, you keep walking. Not because you feel like it, because you remember where you were going. And that memory is enough. It's the anchor that holds you steady when everything else is moving. Pick a goal you can hold without needing daily motivation, because motivation is volatile. It rises, it drops, it disappears. But a well-chosen goal doesn't need motivation. It only needs clarity. And that clarity comes from looking at it every day, not as a chore, as a reminder, as a compass, as a fixed point in the middle of the chaos. Create a small focus ritual. 3 minutes looking at your written goal before starting your day. Not thinking about what you lack, not thinking about the obstacles. Just looking at the point, remembering why you started, remembering where you're going, and then start your day. Because those 3 minutes reorient everything else. They remind you that you have direction, that you're not lost, that you're just in process. Don't look at what you're missing. Look at what's yours to do today. Because what you're missing is abstract. It's big. It's overwhelming. But what's yours to do today is concrete. It's small. It's manageable. And when you add up all the days, when you add up all the small actions with steady gaze, your destiny gets built, not all at once. Little by little, so slowly that you barely notice, until one day you look back and realize you made it. Maybe it's already happened to you. You start something with excitement, and a month later it doesn't feel the same. You wonder if it's still worth it. Your inner voice splits in two. One says quit, the other says keep your eyes on it. Marcus Aurelius would have backed the second without hesitation, because he knew that the discipline of keeping your gaze on what matters is the only thing that separates those who build a destiny from those who just react to circumstances. Your life doesn't change when you decide to start. It changes when you decide not to look away. Because starting is easy. Everyone starts. But keeping your gaze steady as the months go by, as results delay, as no one is watching, that's the hard part. And that's what builds destinies. If you can hold your gaze, you can hold your life. Destiny doesn't belong to those who run fastest, but to those who can look the farthest and never look away. My friend, there are no shortcuts to your destiny. You build it, you choose it, you sustain it. No goal is reached by accident. No dream grows without direction. And no life changes without someone who dares to look themselves in the eye and say, I'm going to keep going. Even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when I doubt. You've seen that focus isn't a mysterious skill. It's a daily choice. You've seen that every chapter you close frees you to move forward. That every early win should push you, not hold you back. That clarity comes when you organize your mind, and strength appears when you decide not to let go of what really matters. And above all, you've seen that your destiny isn't built by dreaming it. It's built by holding it with attention, discipline, and patience. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today, I choose my destiny." That tells me you're part of this community that doesn't give up. Subscribe and turn on the bell so we can walk this path of wisdom together. You've got more videos on screen waiting for you, because every step counts. Click now, and let's keep learning together.